Welcome to Riding Shotgun. They let me off the farm, and I'm in Champaign right now. Just finished Brad Underwood's press conference. This is Tuesday, the day after the Michigan State game, and just was on the practice floor talking to Trent Frazier and Michael Finke, and then back over here tomorrow for the game tomorrow night with Indiana. And it's been an interesting, how many hours? Less than 24 hours, because they played. I thought they played really poorly at Wisconsin, and I know Brad was not happy with their effort. Was kind of embarrassed that they didn't put forth the kind of fight he would expect, and got whomped up there. But I know he felt good about the effort last night against Michigan State, and I would think he would, because they played really hard. As soon as those teams came out onto the floor for the shoot-around, oh my gosh, the difference between the two teams is remarkable. It's the varsity against the junior varsity. I mean, where Michigan State is physically with their program is light years ahead of where the Illinois program is right now, and this is the group that Brad's got, and that will have to be remedied through recruiting. There's no doubt about that. But you saw bigger, stronger, developed athletes, which is what you get when you have one of the, they ranked 6th in the country yesterday. They have 2 lottery picks on that team, and Miles Bridges and Jaren Jackson, and they have a couple of other guys that probably get a chance to play in the NBA, and it makes a big difference. And we saw that repeatedly through the game when they just went over the top of Illinois with their acrobat athletes, and threw alley-oops and dunked it 10 times and killed Illinois on the boards. But Illinois was able to stay in the game for a good long while because of that effort and because of their defense that forced 25 turnovers, the most Michigan State's turned it over this season, and that gave Illinois a ton more possessions, which is the only way they were able to combat Michigan State's great field goal percentage. And it was an interesting game to watch. And Kipper Nichols got going in the second half. He ended up with 27, played the best game of his career. And so you look at that performance by Kipper last night, and I know Brad looks at it this way, and I know Kipper looks at it this way, and says, okay, I don't want to say that should be the norm, because he's not going to average 27 points a game, but he should be able to impact the game every night. He should be able to give them something they can count on every night. He should be able to give them 10 or 12 points and 5 or 6 rebounds every night, because he's that kind of an athlete, and he's a strong athlete, and they really need him to be in their big man rotation, along with LaRon Black and Michael Finke and Ebo, and so with Illinois is this constant question about consistency. We saw what they're capable of doing in the first half against Missouri. But they had not been able to duplicate that all the time. They held a players-only meeting on Sunday, and that's, usually what happens when there's some type of a mini crisis. And that's a really good thing, too, because players are then taking charge. It's one of the things Brad's talked about all the time. We just got through asking him, what do you think of the players-only meeting? Great. What was said in the meeting? He said, I don't know, I wasn't in there. I don't care what was said. It doesn't matter to me what was said in the meeting. It matters to me that they showed enough ownership in the program to call the meeting, that they felt that they needed to talk through some things. And he's been asking for that for a long time, without saying, gee, I wish we'd have a players-only meeting. I mean, you can't call that for them. They got to do it. But I think they came out of that feeling better, maybe got some things off their chest. So here we are. 1 day turnaround, 1 day prep. Indiana coming tomorrow night. Indiana's been playing better. They've won 4 out of 5. They're 5-3 in the league. They're not like Michigan State by any stretch of the imagination. They're a smaller team, but they're a good defensive team. They've got some good players. and Archie Miller running that show now. He's a very good coach, and you know, we'll see what they look like here. But it's a winnable game if Illinois plays well, makes some shots, comes out with that same kind of defensive intensity. I got the feeling last night that people that were here at the State Farm Center walked out of the building generally pleased, because they understood that there's a huge talent disparity between Michigan State and Illinois. But they appreciated the fact that Illinois brought that kind of effort, you know. And when you do that, you're not going to play Michigan State every night. You know, when you do that, you can win the Nebraska game. You can win the Northwestern game. You can win the Maryland game. You can win the Iowa game. You know, we don't go on down the list, but that's the goal tomorrow, is to try to get that done. And that's at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And it would be nice for them to get off the snide in Big Ten play, because they're still looking for their first victory there. It was interesting last night at the game also to see Lovie Smith. If you haven't seen a picture of Lovie from last night, you probably need to dial one up, because Lovie showed up in his beard. I thought he looked just like Danny Glover, and a gray beard, and it was really a different look for him. I do not know. I've asked some people who talked to Lovie, is this a winter thing? Is this something he might hang on to? Nobody knows. And maybe he's going to make it up as he goes, sees what the reaction is. Maybe he sees what his wife's reaction is. But it was a different look for him last night, no doubt about that. Still waiting to meet face-to-face with Rod Smith, his new offensive coordinator, and Corey Patterson, his new tight ends coach from St. Louis. Really anxious to. Was on the teleconference with them the other day. I actually got a little bit excited listening to Rod Smith the other day. I mean, just hearing him talk about his offense and spreading things out and getting the hands in playmakers, and then realizing that all those freshmen are going to be sophomores, and that has to make at least a little bit of a difference. And really excited to see how he views the quarterback position. You know, we know Garrick McGee liked Cam Thomas. Does this guy like Cam Thomas? Does this guy like MJ Rivers, who will be here this weekend on a visit, and I assume will huddle up with Rod Smith, and they'll get to know each other a little bit better. And then if Karan Taylor is here as well, which the hope certainly is that he will be, you know, how does the coordinator feel about him? And will they sign another guy? And will they bring in a grad transfer? You know, so there's a lot of things going on right now, and Lovie there last night, and today is January the 23rd, and I believe spring practice is scheduled to start on March the 6th. Behind me here, I'm in the parking lot at the State Farm Center. You might be able to see the scoreboard at Memorial Stadium in my rear window, but they fenced off part of the parking lot here. This is the northeast lot, and they've created a staging area for some of the equipment that's being used across the street, because the Football Performance Center is going up over there, right by the indoor football practice facility, and right on the east side of Memorial Stadium, and that's exciting to see that go up. And so there's some things going on here, and it was kind of fun to see Lovie get the reaction that he got from people last night when he was here with his Danny Glover beard. That was pretty cool. So anyhow, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, you know, and the one other thing is, obviously, basketball recruiting. You know, you look at Michigan State, and I don't know that Illinois will look exactly like Michigan State ever, but they need to look more like that in terms of bigger, developed athletes. And so we need to see some progress on the recruiting front. And I know they're working on a lot of different things, but that needs to come along. And you can sell playing time maybe to a big guy who wants to play right away. That's one thing they have going for them. But it becomes harder to sell in general when you don't win. And so that's why you need to win. You know, you need to win some games here and get this thing going the other direction. So anyhow, thanks. That's all for now. We'll see how this goes tomorrow night, Wednesday night, and we'll just talk to you next week, next Tuesday. Thanks. Bye.